In October 1843, 100,000 people gathered on the streets of London. A grand memorial to their greatest hero was about to be unveiled. Nelson's Column, built with donations from an adoring public, their gift to a man who had paid for victory with death. His granite figure stands 50 meters up, facing south towards the site of his last and greatest victory, Trafalgar. The turning point in the titanic struggle against France, a war from which Britain had emerged as the world's only superpower.
Concerned they would lose all their profits, the British opium merchants sought compensation for their lost wares. Although the British government agreed to match the impounded goods cost, the hard-up merchants also demanded that the Chinese government compensate them for any future losses. China refused, and many angry traders called for Britain to send troops to China. Meanwhile, Viceroy Lin was incensed that many opium smugglers were still finding new, more creative ways to get the drug into China, including sneaking it in via the Portuguese colony of Macau. In July 1839, tensions finally came to a head when a group of drunken British sailors killed a Chinese villager. When the British arrested the men, they sentenced them to just 6 months of hard labor and did not permit the Chinese to try them in a local court. Viceroy Lin asked the British to hand the men over, but the British knew that, given a chance, the Chinese would execute the sailors. Furious, Lin passed an edict forbidding the sale of food to British nationals. This was an attempt to force them to either cooperate or leave China altogether. This provocative act was a risky move on the part of the Chinese, who did not yet realize the extent of British naval power.
that we had of attack was very short, and the first indication we had that a missile had in fact been fired at us was when the missile was seen visibly low against the horizon. I have never met anybody that's been on the receiving end of an Exocet missile before. I know this is the first time for the RN that this has happened, and it's probably true of most Western navies as well. Therefore, from that point of view, in every sense, this was a very new experience. It caused a rent in the ship's side, approximately 15 feet long and 4 feet deep.
Prince of Wales finally left for America. Her departure had been delayed by 24 hours. Why? The MOD wouldn't say. But when she did finally leave, I was there with the families who turned out in force to wave goodbye to their loved ones who were heading to the US. Or so they thought. Just 48 hours later, it emerged that the £3 billion aircraft carrier had broken down off the Isle of Wight.
This aircraft carrier is like a red-headed child out of wedlock that nobody wanted, but they couldn't get rid of her. HMS Prince of Wales, the sister ship of HMS Queen Elizabeth, is the Royal Navy's second aircraft carrier. While this carrier looks mighty and strong on the outside, on the inside, things aren't so good, which is why she got the nickname the Unlucky Ship.
The whole world is laughing at the Royal Navy and the UK right now as their weakened military comes under more scrutiny every day. The latest embarrassment for the British public is the £3.5 billion flagship aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth that has broken down in port before attending the biggest NATO exercise since the Cold War.
Alright, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on Beyond after this hour. The British Navy is facing a big problem. Its ships can't seem to leave the dock. Aircraft carriers are breaking down and there is an acute shortage of personnel. And now a British nuclear submarine missile launch has failed as a Trident missile is misfired and has fallen into the sea. Now this is extremely worrying not only for the United Kingdom but also a big concern for its allies such as the United States.